It hasn't been the best start of the season for the defending NL champions here. 2-4, losing a 2-game series against the Dodgers and then splitting against the Pirates after that. Hoping to rebound today and start to earn some wins and win some series here. We're going to be advancing quite a bit of time today. Mentioned it a bit in the last episode, but I think we're at the point here in our franchise rebuild that it's really going to be focused more on the player development, how this team continues to grow, and the playoffs rather than maybe what we do in a regular season. I feel like the run we had last year proved that this team is ready to make noise in the postseason. And, we're in the 2030s at this point. We've been rebuilding this team for quite some time now. I mostly want to get volume in years and rather than spending more time on each individual year. But with that being said, we're going to get all the way to the beginning of July here. We're going to get to the last week of the scouting period before we head into the MLB draft. So how we're going to do that is we will do some critical situations. Here is the setting that I will be using for this episode. We'll be having our enter player highlight moments on with the 8th inning, and then we'll have the max situation importance also set in the 8th inning. That should give us a few good options here to hop in and play as we go through 3 months, all in this episode. Going to be probably the most time we've passed in one episode in this series, at least since the first season. So with that being said, let's get into it. Right off the bat, we get ourselves a player highlight moment. Beretto has a shutout going late in the game. Can he finish it off against the San Diego lineup? Let's hop in and find out. Beretto is somebody that we have a lot of high hopes in. Wasn't the pitcher we wanted him to be in the playoffs last season, but gotta remember that he is a rookie here. He'll be going against the heart of the order here, the top of this San Diego Padre lineup. Bogarts hitless today. Only 66 pitches in the first 8 innings. Beretto has been an absolute monster here in his second start now of the season. I will say he did not have a very good first start to the year, so glad to see him bounce back with such a strong performance here. So his stamina won't even be an issue in this 9th inning. Getting ahead here of the count 1-2 for Xander Bogaerts. This one popped up. Giving chase is Logan Cerny. It looks like Brian Doe earned himself a day off here in this episode. Game 1 here of this Padres series. Now going against Fernando Tatis. Also hitless today. No surprise given how well Beretto's pitched. Pitch number 72 for Beretto here is high above the zone, evening up the count at 1-1. Can we get the shutout complete in under 80 pitches? That would be a really strong signature start to begin his second year. Now, of course, playing alongside his twin brother, who has played pretty well to start off the season for Colorado in a couple of appearances now. Falling behind Tatis 3-1. Finds the strike zone there, fouled off. Now we've got ourselves a full count. This one by Tatis on the inside. Really similar location to the previous pitch. This time Tatis could not locate it. And we're down to 1 out away from a complete game shutout for Jose Beretto. First pitch low in the zone. Mickey Moniak. Once again, no surprise hit list so far. I wonder how many hits the Padres have had. Didn't say he had a no-hitter going, so you have to imagine they have at least one or two. Pitch number 79 here. He can go under 80 pitches if he gets a ground out, but instead it'll be ball 2. So pitch count will get into the 80s. Unfortunately, not gonna be able to do it in under that, but still gonna be an impressive start nonetheless. 2-2 now. And we ended off with a strikeout. Feels like you gotta end off a strong game like this with a strikeout. Not gonna be the case here. It's gonna be an extra base hit instead. Moniak gets it clear out to the wall. And he's got a 2-out double on the board for the Padres. His first double so far of the year. Just straight up miss there from Beretto. They'll keep him in the game though. I think that's a good decision there. You always wonder with this game's decision making in terms of when to put in pitchers. Can't allow the base knock here to Machado, though, because then the the complete game shutout's going to be broken up. This one is hauled in by Herrera, and a complete game shutout pitch by Beretto here to start the series against our division rivals. What a start. Year 2, the episode, one of our key pieces of the future, having himself an awesome game. Actually allowed 6 hits. How did he allow 6 hits? But only had 66 pitches through 8 innings. That's kind of wild. Murillo picks up a home run. I believe that's his 3rd of the season so far. Here in week 1 for scouting, one of the positions that I still haven't really drafted in this series, I know we technically got one last year, but he was injured and his ratings were terrible, is catcher. So I want to maybe prioritize a catcher with one of those picks from 29 to 36. If we can find ourselves a future Drew Romo replacement, maybe somebody that can light a fire under Ethan Salas and have him live up to his potential, I wouldn't mind that here. So Tom Fontenot here is somebody that looks like he's going to have good fielding, which, you know, when you're talking about a most likely backup catcher, that's really what you want. Also going to be able to hit lefties. His contact and play skills won't be very good, but, you know, you can't ask for a complete player when you're getting a guy ranked 49th in the draft. And so what we're going to do here for pitcher is actually going to be West. I know it might sound weird. I almost never do West. And it's not for the volume of pitchers in the West. It's just that the lefties in this draft are both in the West. So we're going to be focusing on West for our first pitcher rotation here for the next 5 weeks. And then we'll also be discovering, of course, pitcher West to start out as well. Here is week 1. Murillo is a home run away from the cycle. Press X to power swing. We're not going to be doing that, but I do want to see if he can pull it off here, especially because he has a chance to tie this ball game up late with Herrera in scoring position as well. 3 for 4 today. Of course, we know he has the triple, double, and single. Off to an absolutely awesome start to the season. As you saw there, hitting 400 so far on the year. Has 7 home runs already. He might be on a faster, better pace than he was last season. That's saying something. Can he get that cycle here, though? Tying this game up would just be a cherry on top as well. Somebody that I think if he had not gotten injured in the World Series, we would have had a shot there to win Game 6 and Game 7. But he, of course, was sorely missed in our lineup. I think there's an argument to be had. Who's our best hitter between Murillo and Dorsey? I'm glad we have both of them, I'm being honest. By him for the full count pitch. And Murillo hit for the cycle, and he's going to draw a walk instead. That's a good team play. Make sure you get on base. Keep your team alive. He will be pinch run here. Logan Cerny, okay. I can dig it here. A good hit from Dorsey could score the runner from first, and Cerny increases that chance. Let's see if we can come back here in this game. Home run now takes the lead rather than ties it up. Garrett Whitlock, 14 pitches here into this close attempt. And fouled off there. Now have to protect with 2 strikes. Been a while since we've seen a Neil Dorsey home run. How about one right here? Slides through the circle, change. And he is down swinging. Man. I've been waiting for Dorsey to come up with a signature clutch moment. Hasn't been able to come through for us in his last few episodes. I know he'll have his moments in his career for sure, and I'm sure he's had a lot that we just haven't seen. Zach Veen, nearly a home run there. I thought that was going way foul. That's why I wasn't super excited off the bat, but that was actually closer than I thought. Could have given the Rockies the lead with that swing right there. And another hanging breaking ball. Not hitting very well with runners in scorer's position if you saw that to begin the year, but... Oh, it looks like it wasn't Murillo who was pinch run for. It was Herrera. That's interesting. I don't agree with that decision, but hey. So far, Logan Cerny getting a lot of FaceTime here in this episode. And the circle change will be called for strike 3. You're kidding. I mean, just barely clipping that lower edge of the zone. That's right, Adley Rutschman is a member of the Royals here. We're very deep in this franchise. Not a lot of guys still with their original team at this point. At least guys who started off on their major league team. Of course, a lot of the prospects in the farm system are still kicking it with their original squads. 1-1 pitch now for Salas. Has a hit today. Now behind 1 and 2. Not sure that's a pitch I'd take. Salas waiting for his pitch though. So we'll change outside and it's 2-2. We had a man on second, no outs. And then you take that pitch for strike 3. You can't, what? I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say. How do you take that pitch, Salas? It's a meatball down the middle. You crank that 1 yard, you don't take it. What? What a terrible, terrible, terrible 9th inning from this offense. We had Murillo with 3 hits, Brian Doe with 4 hits, Herrera with 3 hits, and we lose this game. What an atrocity, man. That was an embarrassing 9th for this team. Week 2 now, and Tom Fontenot is holding his rating. It's gone up a little bit here. Still looks like a good defender. Still looks like he's going to be able to hit lefties for power, but that's pretty much the only offensive skill set he will bring. That's still a skill set that I'm actually interested in getting the rest of his scouting process done. Again, The reason we're going west is not for the volume, but rather the lefties. And we only have one pitcher discovered. We'll go one more week here, but if it's 1 or 0, we're just going to have to accept that there aren't that many pitchers in the west to discover. So I think we're going to hold the fort here for week 2. Home team down by 1, bases loaded. That's the kind of action I'm talking about. Can the Rockies come up more clutch than we did last time around? We'll just say that. Solace gets a chance at redemption here. This is the 8th inning. We're not going to watch the rest of this game just because, we're trying to pass through some major time here, but I do want to see if the offense can actually do something here this time around. Going against Cabrera, it's going to be a bunt opportunity for Solace. He does ground out, but the tying run is aboard. I could respect the decision there. Would have loved to attempt the, the grand slam and all, but I respect the bunt there. It's much better than bunting when no one's on base or anything. That's the coward's move. So it'll be Irvin Benoit, not to be confused with Chris Benoit, who we drafted earlier on in this year. Sorry, not in this year, but in this franchise. As you can see, Brian Doe hitting under 250 so far. It's kind of fun to see some updates on these guys because I am not seeing what their stats are until I'm hopping into these games. Can we go from a tie to taking the lead? Been an eccentric start to the career of Brian Doe, and he's got another big moment here, a 2-run single. Thought it was going to be really easy for that second runner to score. Didn't know it was Neil Dorsey. That it actually ended up being closer than it should have been, but Brian Doe is quickly becoming a fan favorite here. Hey, look, it's Montero, but I think we've seen enough here. Wanted to see what we did with bases loaded, and our guys came through. Solace bunted one home, and Doe brought home 2 more. Let's see if we can finish off this game. We do get a save here from Rich Walsh. The Rockies victorious in this one over the Phillies. A much better result there. And once again, Logan Cerny was playing. He's playing like every game. I wonder if he's just getting pinch run every game. That's probably what's going on. But the Rockies win. Much better performance than the last time out when the offense had a chance to be clutch. Week 3 scouting, and it's a big old bump for Tom Fontenot here, all the way up to 10. Okay. So, not really much changed about what you see from his profile. It's just that now our scouts are more confident that he's actually good and pretty well-rounded defensive player. I think you like that. Again, it's for most likely a backup catcher, not somebody that really has a chance to take Solace's job, but having the first guy you scout in a cycle ended up being good. I mean, you'll take that all day. The other catcher that intrigues me here is Jose Vergara, another guy who projects to be a really good fielder. His offense looks a little bit more well-rounded. Not going to have any defined strengths, I don't think, but could be a more well-rounded player. So I want to scout him as well, and those will be the 2 catchers that I found that I was interested in. And once again, only 1 pitcher discovered here, so I'm going to go for Central, which I think is the next best region here in this draft. So there you go. We got Vergara. We've got Discover Pitcher Central, and we're going to continue to scout starting pitchers in the West. Once we get past week 5, we'll take a look at who out of that region is actually good. Another week of scouting down the books. Jose Vergara here pretty much holding his ranking again halfway through his scouting cycle. So I think we give that an extra week. His fielding looks like it's going to be really good, fielding an arm. So I like what I'm seeing there. could potentially have. Oh, I totally forgot to set this. We're not looking for shortstop. I need to set this so we can be getting some increases from our catcher. I also think I'm going to go here because after catcher, we're going to try to scout some first basemen that we like. I haven't seen if there are any worth scouting, but in case there are, we'll set the interest there. But once again, kind of like week 2, we're going to stay the course here in week 4. Another week of no critical situations. So we've got Vergara here. He unfortunately didn't get that massive bump like we got from Fontenot. So he will stay around the 50s. That being said, I still like what I'm seeing from this profile here. Going to be able to hit for at least solid power. Both sides, contact versus the left will look okay. Play skills won't be anything special. But the fielding, minimum 73 with an arm strength. Going to be in the 70s as well. I'm all about that for a backup catcher. So I think we now have a couple of options at the catcher spots. I think one of them will probably be available come 29, 31, and 36, if not both of them. I started looking at some first basemen. Not a lot of guys that, you can really be fans of. Cabrera's probably the best one here. This just reminds me a lot of a profile like Rocha, where I'd be looking for maybe a little bit of a different skill set than Rocha if I wanted to draft one here. Might eventually scout him. He's kind of the only guy that was even semi-interesting. There are a couple of third basemen that I think could play first base, though. Andy Pickett is my favorite among them. He has a chance to be a really, really good power hitter. Not going to be a good fielder, but hey, that's why I would draft him to move him to first base. So I'm going to try this out here for week 5. This will probably be the last week we discover central pitchers. And this will also be the last week we probably scout starting pitchers out in the West. Zach Veen, if he hits a double here, he hits for the cycle. That seems pretty doable here. Doubles aren't too hard to come by when you're a player of the caliber of Zach Veen. So let's see if we can get the first ever cycle that we will have witnessed here in the series. I'm sure it's happened at some point in simulation. I've just never seen one. So let's see if we can witness it here. Nope, that didn't work. There we go. Second time's the charm here. Going against Nolan Watson here. Top of the 8th. First pitch is inside. Zach Gallen warming up in the bullpen for the Padres? That's surprising. Has he regressed to the point where he's a reliever for the Padres at this point? Obviously one of the higher rated pitchers in the base game. Zach Veen is swinging. He wants this cycle. I can't blame him. Now we have a 3-run lead. Might as well go for the personal achievement here. Fouls off. That pitch inside. This one over the middle. It's hit deep to center field. It is going to be out of here. Hit it just a bit too hard here for Zach Veen, but he gets the homer. Instead, I think he'll take the compromise there. Too good at hitting is Zach Veen. Increases the lead to 5-1 now for the Rockies. Let's go ahead and simulate this game out. You got to imagine we can finish this one up. Except not a good start here to the 8th inning. 5-2 here. Rockies unable to add anything. And just like that, it's a 1-run ball game, but the Rockies come out and get the victory. Rich Walsh, first year as a closer. I don't know what his numbers are at this point, but I do know that his season hasn't been perfect by any means. And so we'll see what his ratings are once we get to the end of our simulation period, see kind of what he's done. But no No cycle for Zach Veen, but he does get a multi-home run game. I think he'll take it. Neil Dorsey has a shutout going here. Let's see if he can finish it off. This might be the last critical situation we do here, just for the sake of time in the episode. Don't want to have it go too long. But Rockies have a 4-0 lead. 2 hits is all Seattle's been able to muster up so far in this game. And we're going to see if Dorsey can finish it off. Is at 91 pitches. We should be pretty tired at this point. Hoping he can finish it off nonetheless. MVP Neil Dorsey. Can't speak to where he ranks in the league. I haven't checked quite yet, but I will say he's having himself another really strong season. We'll, of course, check on everybody's stats at the end of the episode. But no sophomore regression. We'll just say that for Neil Dorsey so far in this 2030 season. 1-2 for Gelman. Here is over to Figueroa. He snags in and covers first base. Out number 1 acquired here. Seeing these young pitchers going for these complete game shutouts is a sign of a lot of hope. Pitching staff may have underwhelmed in the postseason, but there's still so much potential here. I think besides Chase Dollander, nobody's even close to their potential yet. And so what was a weakness, I don't know if it'll ever be a true strength. I mean, that's just the nature of a Rockies rebuild, but I don't think we'll be as concerned going forward in the playoffs as maybe we were at times last season. Not going to say that's all going to happen this year. I don't know if one season's worth of improvement will make a ton of difference, but I'm just hoping it's not a problem going forward. And seeing these strong pitching performances certainly give me hope. Triple digits now for Dorsey. He's having trouble getting anything by Rodriguez here. He's just fouling everything off. Could maybe stand to reduce the foul tendency in this slider set just a little bit as it's through the infield there. Good battle by Rodriguez, and he wins it. Tough guy to pitch against for sure. And they're gonna take Dorsey out at this point. Probably would have let him go and allow like one more hit. You have enough of a cushion, I feel like, in this game to try to let him finish it off. But, you know, he is in the 100s. The pitch is maybe not his most comfortable thing. And so it's going to be Michael Kopech who's going to try to come in and finish out the game. And that's exactly what he does. Rockies win 4-0. Fast forwarding a bit here in the scouting process. We're now in week 11. And we found Vernon Sanchez, who after scouting him a bit is ranked 47th. He's so far probably the best discovery guy we've got. Good defender, can play a few positions in the infield. We also just barely discovered Tom Trevino. That 10-point gap makes me think he's probably going to go down when we scout him, but I'll scout him just in case. He ends up being a guy that's like 75 overall, 85 potential. That's going to be sweet. But just a little bit of an update there. This is our last week scouting the Central, and those are really the only two, you know, interesting guys that we've discovered. We've also started to scout the bullpen class a little bit with our first scout here. And that's going to bring us here to the end of the episode. The Rockies atop the division 53-37. We just simulated, 80 games here in this episode. Going pretty quickly here through the season. I will save my full draft preview for the next episode. We're going to have all the conversations regarding the draft, kind of what I think about this class, and then we'll, of course, do the draft as well. Just to give you guys a sneak peek, though, honestly, not a lot in the way of discovery. I think Sanchez at 43 will be our highest rated discovery player of the position players. So not a great year of discovery. Our highest graded position player overall that we scouted is going to be Tom Fontenot here. I think will be a good option for us if he's available, and I think he will be. There are a couple of good discovery pitchers, though. Vern Buckner being one of them here. Going to end up ranked number 4 in the end for us. So that's really good. Really, apart from his stamina, though, not going to have a great starting point for much of these unless he ends up on the high end of his ratings, and his walks per nine will be good. Leland Olson, honestly, looking at this profile, looks like basically the Devin Smeltzer replacement, a lefty with a really good walks per nine who doesn't really throw fast at all. His hits per nine is going to be elite as well. He'll have more stamina than Smeltzer, which will be nice. But I really like Leland Olson. I honestly like him better than Buckner, but if we can get one of or both of these guys, I'd be pretty happy with it. And then there's some bullpen options that we'll talk about next episode as well. Gonna try to see if we can get a last second discover or get a couple other potential gems in the bullpen here with our final week. But now let's go ahead and talk about what our players are doing here. We'll go position by position here. Chase Dollander, 3.77 ERA, 1.38 WHIP. This is pretty much kind of the player that we've come to expect. He's kind of going to be the next generation's Devin Smeltzer, where he's just going to every year, not going to be elite, but he's going to have his whip in the 1.3s, which is acceptable. He's going to be a decent strikeout pitcher. It's been 8 or above his entire career. So this is the player that Chase is at this point, and it's a player that I'm happy to have on the team. You know, if you were expecting him to be an elite pitcher, then I think you're going to be disappointed, but he gives you good stability. Beretto not having the best year, unfortunately, for us. Not taking that step that I wanted him to take to become the future ace. So far, a negative WAR pitcher for us this year. Ouch. You don't love to see it. I'll just say that. Mid-5 ERA, 1.4 WHIP. You know, worse in both categories. Look at his per nines. I mean, these are pretty stable here. He's just allowing more home runs is what it kind of looks like to me, is what I'm gathering here. Don't love the fact that he might be like Chase, where starts off good, but then just starts allowing a ton of home runs. That's why his home runs per nine is not increasing, whereas all of his other stuff is. Neil Dorsey, 3.73 ERA, 1.31 WHIP. Remarkably similar to what he did last year. So pitching-wise, we're seeing a very similar product from him. Doesn't strike a bunch of people out. Walks a decent amount of people, but he is not allowing very many home runs at all, and you love to see it. That's +5 home runs per nine. Now as a hitter, here's what his ratings are going up. +9 overall to power. So yes, he is bringing the power again. 24 home runs at this point. Might be trying to get over 40 once more this season. His average is up 20 points. OPS above 1,000. We'll take a look, but this has got to be a guy who's in the MVP race once more. Neil Dorsey. What a player. Unger in his rookie season, doing pretty solid. 3.75 ERA, 1.41 WHIP. Pretty decent numbers there. He is striking out decently high. You know, it's not special by any means, but we just don't have a lot of strikeout guys, so that's actually pretty high for our group. Home runs at 108 is pretty solid. Try to keep that around 1, and I feel like you're happy he's doing that. And all of his other stuff getting into the mid-60s now, which you like to see. And then you got Johnny Brennan, who's been playing at AAA, 3.14 ERA, 1.19 WHIP. I think that's good enough that if we need a call-up, I feel confident that Johnny Brennan can step in. Just really his stamina that's unfortunate. Anton Hernandez currently on a cold streak right now, but pitching well. Unfortunately, those ratings aren't coming up. You know, you'd like to see walks and home runs per nine coming up as well, but like what we're seeing here, he's got 1 complete game shutout, 12 quality starts on the board for Anton here. Herb Reyes, solid stuff here. I feel like the whip looks better than his ERA does, but improvement from what we saw In limited action last year, guy with mid-sevens strikeouts per nine. He really does do an excellent job avoiding walks, but he is allowing more home runs than you want him to. It's one of his lowest per nines. Well, it is his lowest. No, it's not his lowest. It still hits. The fact that his hits per nine has not gone up at all is concerning. I could certainly see a world where one of Brendan Hernandez comes up for Herb Reyes at some point in the season. I think Gordon Pringle has also, at 77 overall, entered the conversation as perhaps being ready. Home runs per nine has at least hit the 50s, still maybe lower than you want, but it's getting there. And he might take over as the best lefty pretty soon here in the franchise. That was our goal, and we traded for him, used our third and quote-unquote final trade. Of course, we did make one more trade after that. But, Gordon Pringle, I'm liking where he's at. This year, probably next year would be more likely that he comes up, but I think he could be ready this year if, something happens injury-wise and we need him to be. Gilmore continues to increase. I say it like every time I look at him. I'm excited to eventually see this guy pitch because I want to see that palm ball. Pickoff artist, one of the few guys that actually has a quirk here on the team. Suzuki down here at 67 overall. He is going up pretty steady here, plus threes in a lot of his ERAs. Pitching, okay, at double A. And Mac Moses, he's down at single A for us, getting those steady gains. Reliever here, Kopech has been great as a reliever. I think that experiment has really worked out for us so far. Been a positive WAR player. Strikeouts over 9, walks in the low 2s, home runs per 9. He's really doing a good job. And this has become a bullpen guy that I trust. And I think I'm okay giving him pretty heavy usage come the postseason. Mario Lozano. Whip looks excellent. ERA does not. So kind of some misleading stuff there. His whip is by far the best he's had. It's his second worst ERA of his career. If you look at it, he's just allowing insane home runs. You can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. But his home runs per 9 is still going up, I suppose. Ramirez, he got called down to AAA for this year. Just with the 2 Rule 5 picks we had to call somebody down. Ended up being Ramirez. He really struggled in the postseason. And so he's got himself a year of extra development at AAA, and I think he's taking advantage of it, having himself a really solid year. McCracken, I don't know if he's ever going to McCrack the bullpen here. I just think at this point with us drafting so many relievers high that the C potential, he might just be somebody that gets taken in the Rule 5 draft by somebody, but he could have a chance here in the next year or two. Got 2 lefties here in the bullpen. Was hoping that one of them could pitch well. Looks like both of them are actually pitching decently well. Martin has the much better whip, but Saul Frank leads in ERA. I think both of them are pitching well enough that I think, my initial plan was to get to a point in the season where maybe we send one of these guys back to their original teams, call up Jeff Ramirez. But I'm honestly okay keeping both for the time being. Now, for our other pitchers, Robbie Beretto has been getting a lot of action as our long reliever, has pitched 65 innings for us, and has pitched well in them. 3.70 ERA, 1.05 whip. So far, looking like a really good acquisition for us. Whip-wise, really similar to his last year. He did have a better ERA. Last year, of course, he was closing, I believe. No, he was not closing. He was, looks like the sit-up man probably for Cleveland in that long-term relief role just because of that high 40s stamina, and I wanted him to get plenty of action because he's our highest rated reliever, and so far it's working out for us. Blanco, meh. I honestly think this guy, I don't know how he's not performing better. I think his ratings are in a really good spot. Was awesome in limited action last time. Just needs further development. Still just 22 years old. Not striking out as many guys as you'd think, I think, with a high 70s rating, but it is what it is. Now, Rich Walsh got the closing job. He's got that 99 strikeouts per 9, and yeah, he is striking out 35 people in 28 and third innings, but he's also blown 5 saves. This is honestly a really similar spot that we had with our closer last year. So I don't know if I'm going to take him out of the closer spot, but he definitely needs to start getting better numbers if he wants to be our closer by playoff time. 6 walks per 9 is just far, far too many. Also needs to lower his home runs a little bit too. But yeah, walks per 9 is his lowest rating. Didn't think it'd be this big of a problem, but it has been a major, major problem for him this year. Bill Myers. He's losing his strikeouts per 9. Let's see, in 31 innings, he has 27 strikeouts. How is that -3 strikeouts per 9? I get that it wouldn't develop a ton at that rate, but that's a good rate, man. Come on. MLB The Show gets a lot of praise for the way it develops players, and I'm one of those people that gives it praise, but that's a little bit extreme. It is extreme at times, I'll just say that. Dwyer also at AA, getting some solid gains here. In 68 innings, he's having a lot more action. And liking the way both of our lefty guys are developing in the minors. I honestly might up Bill Myers' strikeouts per 9 by 1 or 2 because that's kind of insane. Ethan Salas, 292 average with 8 home runs. He's developing his contact. Once again, I don't know why, but every single player, it doesn't matter if they bat left, right, or switch, but they all develop better against lefties than against righties in this series. It's kind of driving me nuts, if I'm being honest. OPS is his best since 2027. So you like to see that. His average is the best of his career, just not doing much power-wise this year, but what he's been kind of giving us in the past, I'll take either. I don't need him to be great, both average and power, but if he can give us one of those consistently with his defense, I'm all for it. Figueroa is back. My goodness. Last episode, I called for Figueroa, hoping that he could, get back to what we were hoping that we could see, from his rookie year when he hit 26 homers with a 258 average. Thought we were going to see something from Figueroa. And then the next year with a 288 average and 22 home runs. Last year was a big disappointment, but he has rebounded in a big way. And his OPS, 962. That's awesome. You'll love to see it. He's going to definitely have his career high in WAR unless he falls off a cliff towards the end of this season. You'll love to see it. Omar Figueroa, big time ups to him. Kyle Brown, 296 average with a 10 home run spot here. So home runs kind of what he's become here. His average is his career high, so you got to give props to that. 790s OPS. That's been pretty much the player that we've seen him be over the last few seasons. The high 700s there. Really good. Not elite, but certainly somebody that you're fine to have at second base. Sterling Thompson here. Going down against righties a little bit, unfortunately. Going up against lefties once again, despite the fact that he's a lefty hitter. It drives me nuts. Not showing the same power that he did last year. Showing a little bit more contact. This is actually his best year since his rookie year contact-wise. But OPS in the 700s, still pretty much kind of what he's been as well. Was a very surprise breakout power player last year. Looks like that might have been a one-year wonder. Murillo's average is all the way down to 252. And his numbers are suffering because of it. Starting to regress. Another, what is wrong with this game? He's 23 years old. How is he regressing? Yes, I understand that this is his worst OPS year of his career, but it's 845. How is a player getting worse? I don't know. If this is just something that's happening this year, then I get it because he's not having a great year. One thing that really bothered me about last year's game when I did a draft-only rebuild is the second somebody hit their ceiling, they instantly started to regress. That does not make sense. People have longer, peaks of their career than one single year. How would somebody instantly start to regress the second they hit their peak? It drives me nuts. And he hit his peak. I believe his potential is 98 overall. He hit that during actually spring training. And so now he's going down. Again, I get the contact going down. He has 20 home runs already. How is his power a net negative right now? That is insane. Let's take a look at Benji Avalos. This dude just can't hit. His contact has gone down since we drafted him. He started with his contact in the 50s. This guy just simply cannot hit in the sim. It is wild. Been one of the few true just like disappointments development wise in our farm system. Never been able to develop a bat, unfortunately. Probably going to get a call up just because his defense is going to be elite and he's going to be able to play 3 positions. So probably a utility infielder pretty soon. A little disappointing though, gotta be honest. Richie James, no home runs yet, hitting 270. Maybe a little bit below what you want, but he has +7 discipline. Is he drawing a lot of walks? He has more walks than he has strikeouts. Very impressive stuff from Richie James, earning that +7 discipline so far. Not surprised that he hasn't hit a home run, though. That's definitely not his game. Like to see his contact coming up with steady gains, his play skills as well. Future leadoff hitter, like in his career development so far. Zach Veen up to an 85 overall. Once again, developing that contact versus lefties. He, another lefty hitter who has developed more against lefties than righties this year. It drives me nuts. I'm not gonna say that again because I think I've already said it 4 times this episode. But it's every single player. It's crazy. Doe. And then the righty hitter has a better year hitting against righties. It is what it is. But he's losing steal and base running aggressiveness, which is unfortunate because he's like the only guy that can steal. 13-3. Okay. His power versus righties is up to 80, though. He has 14 home runs for us. 240 average. Lower than you want from a leadoff hitter. Don't know if we should keep him there, honestly, with just the 240 average. But he's hitting dingers and he's got some speed, so there's that. Rico Salazar, 277 average with 5 home runs. He is not developing his power at all. In fact, he's losing a lot of power here. Getting a little bit of contact. Maybe he has not even changed his overall this year. That's interesting. I mean, he's not having a great year by any means, but not going up in overall at all seems a little harsh. Cortez doing really well. He's probably ready to be a backup outfielder, I think, at this point. Clemente Herrera, another, probably the biggest disappointment. Maybe just a 245 average and 10 home runs. Was hoping for better after how great he was in the postseason. And of course, we gave him the big long-term contract to hit 245 with those contact numbers. That's unacceptable. And he's losing 5 contact versus lefties because of it. Need him to be better as the year goes along. One more thing I wanted to check here is who is the leader for MVP. Currently, it is Neil Dorsey. The other two-way player, Shohei Ohtani, is under him. Has one more homer than him, but Dorsey, better average, better RBIs. Let's compare them as pitchers this year. We have a 4.52. Oh, yeah. Neil Dorsey is a much better MVP candidate than Shohei Ohtani. So could we see back-to-back MVPs to begin the career of Neil Dorsey? That would be pretty dang fun. With this development, we are now the 2nd ranked team in baseball. Top 5 in both contact and power. 9th in pitching, middling in defense, and below average in speed. Next episode will be the drafts. And I'm excited for it. I hope you are too. Maybe we can add some talent that will play in the series. Probably not, but we just might get a player or two that can play a factor here in the series. That's all I've got for this episode. We'll be back soon with another, and I'll see you then.